Hi, my name is Jay Rai, and today we're going to be learning how to use Flask in Python. The first thing we're going to need to be doing today is we're going to make our workspace by creating a folder. I'm going to put mine on my desktop and name it tutorial. You can put yours wherever you like as long as you navigate to it. And I'm going to go ahead and open up this folder in Visual Studio. So we can click open folder here, navigate to where we put our workspace, and it is now open. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this Getting Started tab, and I'm going to create the file structure we're going to be using. We're going to be needing a folder, and we're going to name this web. Inside this folder, we're going to create another folder for our static files. Inside web again, we're going to need another folder for templates. And one last thing inside of web for now is going to be our initialization function. So 2 underscores init 2 underscores dot py. Outside of our initialization function, we're gonna get our main function to run our application. Let's go and call this run.py. Back to init. This is where we're going to go ahead and start importing Flask. If you haven't already done so, please install the requirements for Flask. If you do not know how to, we're gonna go ahead in our terminal, we're gonna type pip install Flask. It might take a minute to load, then you should have the requirements. If you don't have pip, then you're gonna have to type out the Python install pip. Not that exactly, I will have it in the description below. Now inside of init, we're gonna say from Flask, not capital, import Flask. We're gonna go ahead and make a function because this is where we're going to start initializing everything when it comes to databases, our blueprints, and everything else. We're gonna say def create app, and inside create app, we're going to say app equals Flask. We're gonna pass name, and we're going to say return, if I can spell, return it. Now, inside run.py, where we want to run this application, we're going to say from web, so from the folder we created, we want to import that create app function we made, and we're basically going to set app to create app. So we're going to make an app, we're going to call this function, we're going to go through and initialize everything, return this app, and run it. To run it, we're basically going to say if name is now equal to main, and main with 2 underscores on either end. We're going to say app.run, and we're going to say debug is equal to true. Now, if we go ahead, I meant to say Control S. If we go ahead and run.py, you'll notice in our terminal that the Flask application is loading on the development server. Now, in order to access this, we'll be control clicking on here. You'll notice that nothing is found. We don't have anything to load. One way we can make sure this works is by introducing our first render template. Now, in order to get started with templates, let's first understand what it means. We're going to essentially create one HTML file, our base HTML file, that is going to dictate what all our other tabs will look like. So what goes in our foundation base HTML? Well, in our base HTML, we'll have our nav bar, maybe your logo, maybe your footer, anything else that's going to stay consistent. So let's go ahead and start off by saying new file base.html. And in order to switch upon these different HTML tabs that we'll have, we're going to create a file inside of web, and we're going to call this windows.py. Now, inside of base.html, we'll start first by creating the structure of what we want it to look like. And this is just going to be your basic HTML structure. We're going to start with doc type, HTML, our HTML tag. We're going to start with our head tag. Underneath our head tag, we're going to have our body tag. Inside our head tag, we're going to make some space. We're going to have our meta, char set is equal to utf-8. And we're going to close that, and we're going to go ahead right above this head tag. I'm going to say the title. And now we want the title. Now this is what appears at the top bar of the tab. We want this title to change. So we're going to say using Jinja. And the way we use it is using these curly braces and these percent symbols. We're going to start a block, essentially. So in the beginning of this block, we're going to name it. Let's call it tab. And we're going to end the block the same way. Curly braces, percent symbols, and end block inside. And for now, let's put the words home, because this is our home base, or we can even put base, but whatever you like. Home works, because this will be changed programmatically depending on what tab we're in. Now, inside the body, each one's going to have different content. You can again do this with Jinja by saying block content and end block. So this is going to set just the beginning of our base HTML, just so we can make sure this is working, and we can change this. We'll say this is the home page here. And we're going to create one more, and we're going to call this test.html. We'll be deleting this later. And just to make sure that it works, what we're basically going to say is we're going to extend base HTML. So don't forget the percent symbols. That's dollar symbols, percent symbols. We're going to say extends base, don't forget the quotes, base.html. And then all the things that we put in there in Jinja script, such as our block tab, I believe that's what we called it, right? Block tab. So in test, we can change it to test. And let's end the block. And in the content, block content, we can say this is the test page, and we can go ahead and end the block. So now that we have two HTML tabs we can test, let's see how we can switch between them via Python. Now we're going to be using blueprints from Flask. So what we're going to type is from Flask import blueprint and render template. Then we're going to basically say Windows. So name it the same thing as your Python file. If you named it tabs, say tabs. And we're going to say this is equal to blueprint, not double equal, sorry, blueprint. And we're going to put in quotation type Windows. Again, keep it the same name so you kind of know where you're at in your code. And we're going to pass name. Now, in order to switch between these, or to load which HTML we want, we're going to say views.root, and at the top of your search bar, when you click on different tabs, you'll notice when you click home, you'll be in /home. You'll be in, when you click maybe login, you'll be in /login. So this is how we're going to dictate what is shown. So views.root, and we're going to say def home. Let's do our home page, and we don't need a tab there, and we're going to just return the render template of our base HTML. And let's say one more, views root, and this is going to be for our test one. And let's say def test is just return render template test.html. Now, before we can just start this or see if this works on our server, we need to go back and initialize these blueprints we just created. In order to initialize the blueprints we just created, we're going to go into our init file, and underneath here we're going to write app.register_blueprint. We're going to say Windows, because that's what we called it. And notice how Windows is not being I should move my mouse out of the way. Windows is not being highlighted here. That's because above it we need to type from .windows import Windows. Now you'll notice this will get highlighted. And we're going to say the URL prefix is going to be equal to this empty slash. So now when we go and go ahead and put out of here, views.root, all looks good. Let's go ahead and run this. Oh, did I say views? This is supposed to be Windows. Why did I say views? Excuse my error. I called it views in my other file here. Now that we got that quick thing remedied, we should see if we control click here. It should have started up. This is the home page. If we say at the end here /test, oh, that's not useful, test. This is the test page. And we can see with the Jinja and the blueprints that we're able to switch between tabs and render what is in them. So I hope you found this first tutorial helpful. In the next tutorial, we'll probably be looking at how to get data from users using forms in HTML and how to pass this data into a database.